G'day YouTube, how the heck are we doing? It is Foul Play here, and we're back for another Modern League. So following up last week's 4-1, we're going to continue with an unchanged deck list. That deck list has gone down from 4 Sentinel's Eyes to just 2 copies, mostly because of the metagame shift, less Dragavon, more Bowmasters. You kind of want that flying to go over the top of all of that. Outside of that, we've got Suppression Field in the sideboard for things like Yawgmoth combo. There's a few other decks that it hits, but that's the main one. We've got Oof and Teague for Tron. We've got Leyline for Scam, Force of Vigor for Hammer Time, and Solitude where we need creature removal. Alright, let's get into this one. Alright, so stupidly I left that picture overlay over the top of my recording initially. So we're just going to go ahead and do a replay for match number 1. Our opponent is a Gigantha deck. It turns out they're Tron. That's one of the decks we assume. The other one's Is It Breach, right? We see this hand, and I think this hand could be okay. But without the second mana, you're sort of gambling a lot. You're not always going to hit it. You are more likely to hit it on the draw. Griff Spoon, Sentinel's Eye is not the fastest enchantments. Light Balls can be a really good route to victory, though. And, oh wait, it wasn't Tron. This one's a domain deck. I think we were Tron later in the league. Apologies. So we do hit a land. It's not really the land we're looking for because we've got plenty of white auras in hand. So go ahead and play our Scout, passing the turn to our opponent. Alright, so opponent goes into Preordain. That's a Scry 2 to the top, playing a land out, and we hit another green land. Only 3 lands that tap for just green in our deck. I make the decision to Glade Cover Scout attacking, play out the Light Paws, and then pass to our opponent. Now this does leave Light Paws vulnerable to removal. If our opponent doesn't have removal though, we're in a really good spot. Here comes Leyline Binding, removing it. We do have the answer for Leyline Binding in hand. Follow up of Tarmogoyf, 3 cards in hand for our opponent. So here I made a decision to play the second Light Paws, which is true. I think given the context of our lands, that's a reasonable play. The other play is just removing Leyline Binding. But our auras aren't great here. This does come back to bite us a little bit as well, I believe. So Tribal Flames, removing the second guy. Windswept Teeth now. Second Tarmogoyf, no, Scion. So there's another Tarmogoyf coming next turn as well, spoilers. Obviously no blocks from us. 1 card left in our opponent's hand though. And we break on white mana again. Decide to hold up the Boseiju for Leyline. Decide to take out Scion instead because the clock was pretty gross. It probably would have been reasonable. I guess we can't chump block this guy because he's flying though, right? So I think we had to go for the line we did. Finally hit our white source. Double aura, leave up blocks. Have to block here, assuming our opponent cannot remove the Totem Armor. Totem Armor is fine. There's the Tarmogoyf. We Rancor, we Daybreak. Daybreaks get stubborn denied, and we lose that match. And by that, I mean Suppression Field. So we do like Solitude regardless. Suppression Field seems pretty good. Light Balls seems pretty weak into their removal. Maybe keeping a copy or 2 could be fine though. Spider Umbra is probably our weakest aura, but there's potential for explosives there. So the last card's probably just Audacity to come out. Alright, I'm getting flashbacks to last hand, but this one's a bit worse because no white mana whatsoever. We'll mulligan this one. And no creature hand, mulligan this. Opponent keeping 7. Alright, we'll settle for this. Ditch Boseiju. Probably ditching Sentinel's Eyes here. It's a pretty good looking 5 really. We just have to hope for minimal interaction from our opponent's end. And of course being on the play is going to help us a little bit. Alright, that being said, our opponent's got a lot more card advantage than us, and removal like Leyline and interaction like Stubborn Now could be pretty backbreaking for us. Turn 1, explosives on 1. Alright, that's pretty good. Suppression Field somehow. Our opponent misses a land drop maybe. Alright, Bogles pretty good as well. A land would have been nice, but this is probably better. Let's go ahead and attack for 3. Alright, an opponent getting aggressive here with the Fetch Shock. We see Kavu hit the battlefield. And that's a pretty good one. Let's get our Totem Armor down. Punish our opponent. Alright, so I think that was potentially a small misplay from our opponent. I get wanting to put a clock on the battlefield. I guess they're in a pretty good spot in a future turn with a block, but we have dropped them to 7. There are, like, ways we win this game now. Alright, trigger. Another misplay. Interesting. Alright, and our opponent cracked for a forest pre-looting. These creatures are not legendary. They can't hold up Besage. They're not holding up blockers. They're bottoming a Wild Nikado. It's just interesting that they didn't get swamped to complete their domain. And that all of this is happening pre-combat for some reason. I guess they're thinning deck for something else. We're in a real spot to raise them. If we slow roll this Griffspoon, that could be pretty killer. Alright, Wild Nikado, so we're forced to play Griffspoon. Interesting. Hey, look, let's go. Slam. Alright, so now we can put our opponent to 2. I mean, Force of Vigor probably gets us here, but I don't think we're beating that card anyway. Alright, opponent's on 2. They can attack for 7. That'll put us to 4, and we're dead to Tribal Flame or Double Bolt, something like that. Oh, there's the Tribal Flames. Alright, that's the GG. Well, well played by our opponent. We're just a little bit slow. Maybe if we're able to keep a 6-card hand with like an extra land, we could have got there. But as it is, that's going to be a good game, and we're going to be moving on to round 2. Alright, match number 2. We won the Darrell this time. Hand looks pretty reasonable. Only 1 mana, unfortunately. Everything else about it is pretty good. All our auras, except for Spirit Mantle, are all 1 mana, so should we hit our land drop, we can empty our hand quickly, and if we don't hit our land drop, at least we've got options on what to play. Shadow Spear off of Forest. Is this some sort of like Jun Saga deck or something? Brick on land drop. I guess we're just aggressive here with the Rancor. Actually, that could be loose. I'm probably supposed to do Hyena Umbra, because if they active removal spell, it's going to be really bad for us. So I think I misplayed on the Aura being aggressive there. And we do see the Urza Saga. They can't hold up removal off the back of this, though, which is nice for us. Hangerback Walker. Okay. So it's that token deck. We broke on land drop again? Are you fucking kidding me, deck? Give me some speed, man. I don't want to be taking 6 years against Harden Scales. No way in hell. So yeah, bad news is missing land drops, missing Ethereal Armor, not a huge amount of tempo. Good news is their flies are fairly ineffective against us. In general, with token blockers, we could, you know, either fly over the top, or if they do get the flying tokens, I think it's potentially from the other one, then at least we pretty much ignore them. So Welding Jar, equip Shadow Spear, and no attacks. Okay. So we're looking to regenerate. The regenerate trick removes their creature from combat. So I don't think it's going to work quite the way our opponent hopes it will. Yeah, just wording on regenerate is remove a creature from combat, even though it's not stated on pretty much any card these days. You remove it from combat, and then you tap it and leave it on the battlefield. Like also removing destroy effects, damage assign, things like that. They're just going to look to put a counter on it. Alright, we do a first strike damage now. They regenerate. Alright, so that should remove them from combat before they deal any sort of damage to our creature. Bingo. Knowing the wording on cards. Kind of OP. Regenerate's not an effect you see very much these days, so you can't fault a player for not knowing that one. Alright, so floating mana off the Urza Saga, it looks like no activation. And opponent gets this one. Alright, this could get a little bit scary. If a modular trigger would trigger 1 or more counters, put that many +1 on it instead. Destroy target artifact you control, it gains flying until end of turn. Alright, so not out of control yet. They could potentially get another effect on the board, and then the tokens and the creatures will go pretty wild. Alright, so opponent plays Ozolith, and that gets to gen tokens, and our opponent gets to get a big guy, and they got an Arcbound Ravager. Alright, it's kind of scary. Our opponent also played Besage this turn instead of interacting with us, so it looks like they think they can race, which they may indeed be able to. Obviously, there's no good blocks here, because they sack Arcbound Ravager, they make a big dude. We want to hit land, we want to play Spirit Mantle, and then we're in a safer spot, but our opponent can still trample for a lot. So they're just sacking the Zabaz. Okay. Making a big Ravager. Funky. Alright, and then sacking Ravager for Hangerback Walker here. Man, I'd love just like a main deck Solitude right now. That'd be a complete blowout. As it is, opponent goes back up to 21. We're down to 7, and we break. You gotta be freaking kidding me, man. Alright, so we'll play the effect that adds a toughness. This can put a counter on their creature. We have 4 points of toughness. They can trample 6 currently, 7 after activating Ozolith. That's a shame. We draw pretty poorly this hand. Classic one land Bogle hand. Like, it just seems like you're always cursed, right? Another Hangerback Walker and an Ozolith. Okay. Well, technically still in it. We lose Spider Umbra. Opponent puts us to 1, and, well, I guess no Daybreak Coronet in hand, so that's pretty lethal at that point. Alright, we'll concede. Alright, so here we can see our opponent is packing Force Vigor in the sideboard, Haywire Might, which is potentially more detrimental again. In the main deck, how many Besages do we see? 2, so that's a reasonable amount of interaction, unfortunately. Alright, that being said, we've actually got quite a bit of stuff in our sideboard for our opponent. So I think Suppression Field is going a little bit deep, but Collector Oof kicking off those activations, that's going to be really, really strong. Force of Vigor interacting with them, dodging their removal unless they board in Dismember, which would be going pretty deep. Solitude for their creatures. I think Light Pause is... it's okay. I think it's just possibly a little bit too slow. Daybreak Coronet after our opponent interacts a lot could be bad. Maybe we'll out the Daybreak Coronets, leave 2 Light Paws in, and go like that. This could be okay. That could make up for like the amount of interaction having such a good creature. Alright, so we'll keep this hand. We've got an interactive effect here with the Besages, so we'll lead on Windswept Heath. And I guess the question you want to ask yourself is this hand with a Daybreak Coronet looking better than a hand with a Light Pause? Arguably it looks better with the Daybreak Coronet, but we just fold easier to interaction. I think this is actually a reasonable decision. Grove of the Burnwillows, Haywire Might. Alright. Easy peasy, we'll play our guy, and we don't have to attack here. We couldn't trade off, but we could Besage you. I think we just relax a little bit and just don't attack. As good as it would be to have this off the battlefield, we don't really need to force it currently. It will backfire way too hard if they have Dismember, and I don't really want that. Alright, so now we see Harden Scales. And no follow-up from our opponent. We find Force of Vigor off top. That's pretty damn strong. No green cards in hand currently for this. Alright, let's go ahead and get rid of that. Then we can just put out 1 Aura effect and start beating in. Opponent with life gain. Getting a mana. That's all fine. Let's make a giant Light Pause. If it goes bad, we can always escape across. And then we can get a Rancor. And Rancor will give us fodder for Force of Vigor if our creature does. Alright, and an attack for 6. Alright, they do have the Nature's Claim on the Rancor. How curious. That's the easy one to get back. Don't you think they want to deplete our graveyard a little bit more? Maybe they're just really screwed after... I don't know. Seems weird to keep a hand that only had that without mulliganing super hard. Alright, Agatha's Soul Cauldron. Alright, opponent plays Hangerback Walker, enters with 2 counters. I don't think we care too much about that. We probably want to fire off the Force of Vigor anyway, and probably kill Cauldron Hangerback Walker. Get rid of Rancor. We can always get another one. Oh, Cauldron gets back Haywire Might? No. Okay, I think they did that and they got an extra guy. Interesting. Alright, so Spirit Mantle. We don't have to worry about losing this copy. We can get our Ethereal Armor. And that's a fairly sizable attack. And opponent unable to block thanks to the protection from creatures. And Flyers are cracking back in against us. Leaving one back to block, that would be suggestive that they've got interaction for us. Let's give Flying. That way we can get our Trample and we beat one interactive effect. Another Rancor. Alright, attacking for 12 will force the interaction. I guess we could attack wide with Bogle, but if they have like a Force of Vigor or something, we could have our creature eaten for free. Whether or not that's better or worse than a Thopter being on the battlefield, who knows. Sure, thank you. I would love another land. Alright, and opponent takes the damage. Interesting. If we keep Gladecover Scout in hand, that would be good if we drew out the Force of Vigor. I don't see any point of playing Spirit Mantle right now. We already have our interaction with our opponent. Hey, look, they concede excellently. Good navigation with the Light Pause. Yeah, again, Suppression Field is good against all our opponent's activations, but it just goes straight into their plan of like triple Force of Vigor, so I don't think that's where we want to be. That actually went so well, we might actually want to bring in another couple of copies of this. And we may want like a lone copy of Daybreak Coronet to get. Chalice on 1 is something our opponent can also do, which would be quite frustrating. I think we minus out the Spider Umbras. I'm not seeing any copies of Explosives. Maybe something like this. Oh wait, no, we're a couple of cards over anyway. Alright, so like 3 Light Pause, 1 Daybreak. Okay, we'll go with that. Alright, so opponent keeps 7, and we've got a decision here. I think the decision is keep and assume they don't have the removal effect. We've got one piece of interaction, and we've got a really good creature into our opponent's interaction. So, a bit of a slower hand. I'm going to gamble on it this time. Alright, so Zabaz into Urza Saga on turn 2 for our opponent, playing Patchwork Automation. Alright, casting Welding Jar. Attacking with Zabaz. Okay, that's fine. That's a fairly tame turn, but normally with these Harden Scales decks, it is turn 3 where they get out of control. So we'll play our guy and we'll pass the turn. Note our opponent also has a legendary creature, so their own copies of Beseiju will only cost 1 green mana to activate. Alright, so double attack for our opponent, no block, not worth facing antics from our opponent, getting triggers. We'll just take the 3 damage, going to 16. Alright, and here is Arcbound Ravager. Temple Garden off top. Interesting. Alright, so we get Sentinel's Eyes down. We can trigger this one. I think we just go for all the effects. So we'll get Ethereal Armor. We've already got a Rancor. I don't think it's worth doubling up on Rancor currently. I guess we just get Grispoon and fly over the top. It could be worth getting the second copy of Hyena Umbra. I guess just extra evasion is probably fine. Alright, we'll shock this one in to hold up Beseiju. We'll attack for 10. Alright, opponent takes a clean 10, no interaction. Our creature is currently too big for Dismember. Alright, and Urza Saga trigger, floating the mana. This is probably like Ozolith make a big creature attack. Maybe, no, I think I misplayed. If I'm in a situation where I need to block, I don't have Totem Armor currently. So this Welding Jar could pretty much end us. Alright, I think we did this wrong. I think Grispoon should be Hyena Umbra. Apologies, everyone. Alright, so we can see our opponent did get Ozolith. And Walking Ballista on 1. That's a little bit terrifying. I don't have good interaction to that. Solitude would be good interaction. Another welding jar? Oh god. What do we even do after that? And a Hangerback Walker. Okay. Alright, so we don't actually have to hugely worry about everything. If we block and our opponent regenerates, it removes it from combat, so we might be able to dodge not having that totem armor. Welding jar sacked. Growing. Our opponent sacks the next welding jar as well. Alright. Do they have a way to get it back? I don't believe so. They might get baited to going all in here. Sacking Patchwork Automotive, putting the counters across onto a creature. So that's probably going to go on Arcbound Ravager and the Zabaz. Wow, they're literally going all in. Alright, so you can see these effects going across. 1/1 counter on Ravager is fine. Ozolith goes up like crazy. Counter on Ravager. Alright, so there's going to be a lot of counters going on Ozolith, sorry. I think we just now kill the Walking Ballista in response. And that should be game. I think our opponent wants to attack and put the Ozolith triggers across. Alright, cool. So it looks like we stole one from Harden scales. That seemed like a little bit forced, but we were going to kill them next turn. Yeah, there's potentially a better way for them to sequence all those effects, including keeping one welding jar on the battlefield. I feel like that was a pretty significant misplay. Maybe they were playing around, like just assuming if we had Path to Exile, that wasn't good enough, and they weren't playing around Beseiju. But yeah, you let me know in the comments if you're a diehard Harden Scales fan. What was the line there for victory from them? On to match number 3. Okay, match number 3, Lost the Dire Roll versus JMac 2000 here, and I think a Light Pause hand is a little bit soft, especially on the draw. Opponent's mulligan to 5. Wait a minute. Maybe we can gamble on something like this. Alright, well the auras look good and we got good lands, so let's gamble, let's keep. We'll ditch a Griff Spoon. This is 1 land away from a turn 3 kill, by the way, for if we're versing something like Tron and they have like a delayed Tron start. Alright, it's Tron. Cool. Yeah, we need 1 more mana source and we got it. Okay. So now we just need them not to Karn turn 3, or, you know, not to Tron turn 3. Alright, so Ancient Stirrings for our opponent. Off the Chromatic Star. Finding the Tower, double up. Excellent. If they play that double up, beautiful. Alright. We can potentially turn 3 our opponent now before they interact with us. Just in time, Glade Cover Scout. No, I'm definitely not complaining. We're in a very good spot here. Alright, opponent with Ancient Stirrings now. Finding Power Plant. Chucking that one down. And we're just dodging Dismember now, hopefully. Alright, so we'll lead off on Hyena Umbra. Opponent's like hard pass to us, by the way. We'll get Ethereal Armor, so we have 2 copies. We'll Ethereal Armor. Alright, we're out of range of Dismember now. We'll get, I guess, Audacity for maximum damage. And then we'll Audacity, and we'll get Rancor. Boom. Attacks for 21 on turn 3, and we defeat Tron. Let's go, team. Alright, so here is a Tron list, and this is what they're about. Looks like they've adopted the One Ring. No one's really that surprised about that one, I don't think. Looks like potentially some lists are reducing the number of Karn Liberated and Ugin as well. It's possible that this card's just that good. There's things like Oblivion Stone to be aware of, Dismember, which we dodged that game, and obviously the Haywire Mites as well. In the sideboard, we see Explosives. A lot of this is going to be tutored off Khan the Great Creator. Alright, so these are the cards we like. We've got Collector Roof stopping the activation of artifacts. This can just stone kill their mana. We've got Gadok Teague making it so they can't play their large stuff. And we've got Force of Vigor to remove things like Ensnaring Bridge, right, from the side there. Alright, so now we have to decide what we do and don't want. I think if we're winning with Daybreak Coroner, obviously, like, it's pretty strong as far as cards are concerned, but if we're winning off of it, doesn't seem the best. It's also vulnerable to removal and falling into the graveyard, which isn't ideal. Something like this. Maybe a couple of creatures as well. Yeah, I reckon something like that's where we want to be. Obviously, if we're boarding 4 creatures in, we can stand to take a couple out, even if they did just win us that previous match. Opponent mulligans to 6, no creature hand, we'll do the same. 1 piece of interaction, really weak spells. Opponent mulls to 5. I think it's correct for us to as well. Alright, now we've got to keep this one. 1 light pause, and we have to hope we hit our land drops and that our opponent has a slower start. 1 Rancor, 1 Sentinel's Eyes. Them mulling to 5 as well, it possibly makes it more likely that they're going to discard a card like Dismember as well to keep their like Tron effects to get their lands. We hit Temple Garden off our first draw as well, so we know we're not missing our second land drop yet. Sylvan Scrying. Okay, opponent plays the Forest as well to get that happening. So a bit of a slower start from them again. We could literally just repeat game 1 here if we hit 1 more land drop. It doesn't matter on the color of that land drop. We don't have any Dryad Harbors to come in tapped. We just need our light pause to survive, and we can turn 3 kill again. Chromatic Star. Cracking the Star. Floating the green. Sylvan Scrying. Alright. Come on, deck. Alright, leave a comment for us to hit that land drop. Let's go. Oh, damn, we blank. That's so unfortunate, man. Alright, so Hyena Umbra, get Ethereal Armor. We'll just deal as much damage as we can right now. And Ethereal Armor, and then we can get another rank, or maybe an Audacity. Getting the extra card draw post-removal could be pretty worth it. Opponent is going to have Tron mana. We just have to hope the follow-up's a Wormcoil Engine and not something more sinister like a Khan. Alright, and Ancient Stirrings off the green mana here, so no getting Ugund, which is nice. Ah, they find Khan Liberated, damn. We're going to lose our guy, and they get like 2 actives on this guy. That's frustrating. Okay, what can we draw off the Audacity trigger? We probably want to hit like any other creature here. Any other creature. Alright, 1 more turn to hit a creature. Opponent's going to have to minus that Khan, or Light Pause is in a position to kill them next turn. They play Chromatic Star. Sacking. Ancient Stirrings. Alright, let's get a blank here. Come on, Tron. Blank this one time. Only land. Only land. Beautiful. Alright, Khan is gone. Exiling our Light Pause. Haywire Might enters the battlefield. Alright, let's see a Collector Roof. Come on. Not a Collector Roof, but it is something. Now, whatever we play has the potential to get exiled with Haywire Might, so I think we just hold off on that. We probably force pitch to kill it in our opponent's end step, and then we can Flying, Sentinel's Eyes, start attacking in and try to finish our opponent off. Opponent with a second Khan liberated. Alright, we'll concede. Maybe it's not over. It's getting close. Haywire Might. Alright, double Haywire Might. So opponent's going to gain 4 life. Oh god, we're going to have to draw a Rancor to kill our opponent's Khan. That's going to be a frustrating one. An opponent down to 1 card in hand. So if we can handle this Khan, we'll be entering the long game against them. Rancor off the top. Unbelievable. Alright, we kill Khan. Let's go. Wild. Wild stuff. 10 mana. No. We're down to some pretty big basics here. This has indestructible. Opponent at 11 life. And we draw dead. Alright. Good game. On to sideboarding. Alright, so the potential for us to turn 3 kill our opponent goes up this game, being on the play. So we want to be all in on light pause, all in on 1 mana auras. If we're taking out the spirit mantles, might as well take out that 1 of Daybreak Coronet as well. And yeah, this should be a pretty strong one. And hopefully we don't have to mulligan due to creatures. Damn. Alright, so only 1 land. A payoff aura. I think we can do better than this. If we had 2 lands, this is probably a keep. But we could very easily just hit one of our hate creatures and kill our opponent off of that. Unfortunately, we brick again. Opponent mulls to 6. Alright, we'll keep this one. Bottom land, bottom Griffspoon. Get a reshuffle. I guess the reshuffle doesn't mean much. Yeah, okay, we'll go like this. Alright, opponent kept a 6-card hand, so they're going to be semi-aggressive. I wouldn't say no to like a Collector Roof off the top, especially after that Expedition map. Let's see. Damn, our deck doesn't like us. That's a shame. Whoops. Well, let's just pay the white. This Audacity can come into play off the green. We'll attack for 5. Alright, looks like our opponent has natural Tron. Well, as natural as it comes. With 1 map effect. We want to see Gadok Teeg here specifically. Not Gadok Teeg. Okay. That's a shame. Alright, so the question is, do we play Light Pause or not? We probably do. It might force our opponent to like Khan active the Light Pause instead of our Scout, and then Ethereal Armor would add 4 power and drop our opponent to 1. That's so close, but not quite there. Haywire Might. Okay, definitely happy we dropped the Light Pause. Second Haywire Might. Currently no ways to get the green mana. Okay. Chromatic Star is a way for green mana. Another Chromatic Star? Oh, that's just lame. They're going to like double block and then like fog all the damage. Alright, let's hope we hit an aura off the top to make our opponent's decisions harder. Maybe we'll get a flying effect. Buffer them off a little bit. Oh, we just hit that. Alright, we'll attack with both creatures. Alright, so it looks like opponent blocks like this. It would just make sense to gain the 4 life, cash in, just fog all the damage. We get a card draw from Audacity. Oh, Audacity's exiled. We don't get a card draw. That's right. These Haywire Mights are like literally freaking stupidly strong, aren't they? Alright, so all damage fogged. I guess we're just hoping they don't have a big piece. If that big piece is a big piece, it's a Worm Coil and we draw the auras needed. This is a tough spot. Is that just like another Ugin now? Walking Ballista on 5. We're still not dead. Not quite yet. Think we just get our opponent's creature off the battlefield. No point holding on to Rancor. Let's just go for it. Obviously, like, Collector Roof would have been the best possible draw there, but we didn't really have it. Opponent just takes the damage. Okay. Maybe we're in business. Maybe they just want to make it a 4-4 and then block us next turn. Expedition map can find Blast Zone. That's bad for us. Also, it can find Besage. Not surprisingly, there's the Blast Zone. Okay. Couldn't this just do, like, X or less? Why does this Walking Ballista get to live? That just seems so bullshit, man. Okay. Attacks. Collect Roof. Let's see a Collect Roof. Audacity, not what we're wanting. Stone Brain. Alright, so what are they going to do? Just strip away all our light pores? Yeah, they're choosing light pores. Okay, that's kind of good for us. We want to see Collect Roof. We have to see Collect Roof. Another 8 mana floating. Just making a giant walking ballista. Okay. Attacks for 6, actives for 6. Alright, that's game. That's unfortunate. I think our mulligan decision was correct. I think our sideboard decision as well was fine. Like, we mulliganed to 5 before we saw a keepable hand, and then they kept something with Uber interaction. In my opinion as well, we kind of drew pretty poorly too. Alright, on to the next match. Alright, match number 5. We lost the die roll versing Emergency Draft, and we see this rubbish 7, so let's go ahead and mulligan. Opponent inevitably keeping 7. Alright, so I'm out of this, keep this. Let's just assume it's not Scram. Drop our Light Pores, drop our Spirit Mantle, keep like a fairly aggressive hand, only needs 1 extra mana to operate effectively. Just a classic turn 1 Haywire Might into a Bogle deck that's mulligan to 5. Nothing to see here. This is all fine and normal. Alright, we hit our land drop, which is nice. We pretty much only want to see auras from this point forward. Wall of Roots, so probably Yawgmoth. Attacking with Haywire Might. Block? No. Not quite that crazy. Another Bogle. Oh, it could have blocked. Look at me misplaying. Alright, so planes. We probably want to put our least valuable auras down first to nerf the power of Haywire Might a little bit. We can't really attack through the Wall of Roots regardless, so we'll just do this. Our opponent did not block with Wall of Roots. We just got a free 3 points of damage. Go team, I suppose. Alright, and after a long decision, we see Strangleroot Geist. And looks like our opponent wants to hold up blockers. Plays Beseiju onto the battlefield instead of holding it in hand for active. Okay. I think our opponent's gaming, guys. That's absolutely terrifying. Alright, so I can't see any reason not to Ethereal Armor attack. Our opponent could have another Beseiju and double destroy aura, block and trade this Strangleroot Geist. I think we just force them to have it because we're in a pretty bad spot if that's what's going on. Our opponent takes the damage. Interesting. Goes to 11. A random chump blocker seems worse than having the card draw from Horizon Canopy end of my opponent's turn, so we'll just wait. Alright, so end of turn, our opponent choosing to add green. Looks like a Court of Cooling. Unfortunately. Probably sacking the Wall of Roots. That's Jareth's Messenger, right? Do they still play that card? Or is it a Grist? I think we're fine with both. I guess if it's that case, they probably just go for like a Cutthroat or a Blood Artist. Alright, and they do go for the Grist. Interesting. So they're going to try and like stall us out here, maybe? Oh, so that's Court of Cooling without sacking a creature. Never mind, that just taps creatures. I forget how things work. I'm thinking more of like Eldritch Evolution style cards. I believe that one's a sorcery, but then there's the other one that's an instant. Alright, there's Eldritch Evolution, sorcery, Strangleroot Geist trigger. So that goes up to a Yawgmoth. Okay. We're not dead yet. We'd need to see a Blood Artist type effect. Our opponent's being very patient here. Alright, end step, we'll crack Horizon Canopy. Another dead draw, another creature. How rubbish, man. We'll attack in, and, you know, 3 dead draws in a row, unfortunately. We'll attack face. I don't really see any value for going at Grist. They're probably just going to block with Insect Token, do a sack effect, get a scry and a card draw, and whatever else they do. Alright, Haywire Might, active, probably on Ethereal Armor, yep, that's fine. And they're just going to take the damage after removing that one, I would imagine. Our opponent misplayed. This needs to be a block and then sack to kill, and then they don't have to throw away another creature. Takes the damage. Okay, second main. I guess within our deck, we get our forest. We play out double guy. We hope not to have another rubbish turn another rubbish couple of draws next turn. These creatures can act as blockers for our opponent's stuff. We might even be able to attack wide in some weird, strange world. Probably not. Alright, opponent playing Hepatra, and that gives them a way to counteract the Undying trigger. I mean, I guess they can target creatures that aren't their own. They make tokens. That's what they're doing. Okay, so the tokens will give them extra sack outlets equal to their life, essentially, and they'll just be digging, drawing cards. Alright, I'll unpause when something of relevance happens. Alright, the first thing of relevance, opponent's taking their life down to 5, which is one short of where we need it. They've played an Agatha's Cauldron, which I guess gives a couple of extra counters here or there. We find Grispoon, that's 1 damage off lethal, that's a huge shame. Alright, we'll put our opponent to 1 though, and then they can't activate Yawgmoth again, so I guess we're in a fine spot. So it's like between Grispoon and Spirit Mantle were the cards we wanted to see. It looks like we've seen it here. Attack face, obviously. We don't really care about Grist here. Opponent, exile on Agatha's Cauldron, gets a Haywire Might. Oh, so they're now going to sack that, remove the flying. Oh, that's a cool line. Okay, we're not actually quite... Man, this card's so dumb. Why do opponents get, like, double Haywire Might? What a load of crap. That's exiled as well. God damn it, man. Our opponents get out of jail free card. As if this doesn't cost mana to activate. That card's so strong. Alright, blocks with only Yawgmoth. Nothing happens, they bounce. Alright, and Walking Ballista on 0, so I guess they can put that on a creature and ping our face at some point in time. Oh, I guess they misclicked, actually. Okay, they've floated the mana, and that was a misclick. That's a very unfortunate thing about Magic Online. Well, that puts a few percentage points back in our favor, but we do still need to draw something of relevance. Haywire Might getting in... Wait, what? Can they exile it both times? Or do they just mill another one with Grist or something? Mills Grist. I don't... Or does that just permanently stay underneath the Cauldron? God, that's going to make it hard to draw. We're going to have to find Besiege You specifically. God, facing a Haywire Might active a turn, that's ridiculous. Yep, okay, so active's here. Another active on Strangleroot Geist as well. Mills Blood Artist. Alright, so that's game. I think. Wait, no. The Blood Artist has to be underneath this for it to be game specifically. We're really close to dead though, because our opponent's amassed a lot of power on the board. Alright, so opponent's attacking with a few things. I think the best move is Chump Block Strangleroot Geist. And then no other blocks. Take 5 damage, go to 10. Hope our next draw is exactly Besiege You, and then we hit a run of auras following that. Audacity off the top. Opponent has double green to blow up 2 of our things. We can't really attack through here. We'll concede that. So we pretty much show our opponent's entire deck and how it works with the Blood Artist there. That'll give like the life gain to them, and they'll slowly just mill us out for damage. So they'll need 1 Blood Artist, potentially 2 Undying creatures, or 1 Undying creature and a Hepatra. Okay, so sideboard wise we can see they've got Besiege You in the land slot first of all. Sideboard wise we can see Force of Vigor, we can see Haywire Might. Yeah, that stuff's pretty good against us. Also Chalice of the Void. So the deck's actually moved away of what it used to be. It no longer plays Thoughtseize. It instead, I believe, plays Orcish Bowmasters, but I haven't seen one play against me as of yet. So the main takeaway point of that is I don't think we want Leyline anymore. Suppression Field seems reasonable to me. Our opponent probably still keeps in some number of like fatal pushes for our light pause, so something like Collector Roof is also probably not super worthwhile. Force of Vigor, we could do that. That feels like overboarding. Our opponent doesn't have that many copies of Cauldron. It says 2.7 in 74% of decks. Is that card the biggest problem, or do we just need to race our opponent? I think the answer is we need to race them. So Audacities are probably out. And then maybe a couple of Light Paws out, and we'll just try to be a Bogle deck. Hey, look. Suppression Field. A keepable 7-card hand. Let's go. Alright, so it looks like our opponent decides on a 7 to keep. Also some Words of Luck were wished as well. Back and forth. So Sea Verdant Catacombs now. Overgrown Tomb. And it's probably Halfling. Yep. Temple Garden's a pretty good draw for us. So sequencing wise, are we more concerned about Suppression Field or Light Paws? I think we just gamble on Light Paws at the moment. Try to force a victory. Force them to have that fatal push effect. They don't have that many fetch lands in the deck. I think it's like 4 or 5 fetch lands. Most copies of the deck, so gambling on like mana screwing them just is a little bit silly, and we already see 1 copy in the graveyard too. Alright, so opponent shocks in an Overgrown Tomb. White mana. Grist. Alright. That's slow. We want to see a 1 mana aura, hopefully. They destroy with Grist. Oh no. That's frustrating. Okay, so we can destroy Grist, play Suppression Field. That's pretty frustrating. Maybe we're supposed to Suppression Field first? I don't know. It seems a little bit forced if we do. Sure, we'll play a Griftspoon. It makes it easier if we draw like a Daybreak Coronet next turn. We can double aura, so I'm down for that idea. Alright, Wall of Roots from our opponent. Into Strangleroot Geist. Okay. Attacks us for 2. We go to 14. 14 plays 14. I'm guessing this does not count. This does count as a mana ability. That's a bit funky. I played the wrong land there. I should be playing the Horizon Canopy. It will cost 2 more to activate though, so I couldn't activate this turn regardless. Alright, so attack for 3, put our opponent to 11. Yeah, it seems funny to me that an effect like Wall of Roots doesn't count, or does count as a mana ability. Like the primary text on it, like the initial text on it is put a -1 counter of Wall of Roots, then add mana. It just seems a bit funky that it gets around Suppression Field, but it may or may not be a bug. I'm not entirely certain. I guess we just keep attacking. We could hold Griftspoon. Doesn't seem like the sort of thing that matters either way, really. Like if we draw a Light Balls, it would be better in hand, but it speeds the clock up by 1 turn. The good news is we've got 3 evasive auras, so even if they interact with 2 of them, we've still got evasion happening. Orcish Bowmasters. Alright, so opponent's going to amass an Orc army after dealing a point of damage to us, and this is going to be an old-fashioned race. Another Bowmasters. Ah, man. This Horizon Canopy is going to cause 2 triggers now because it's only draw steps in each of their draw steps. I can't even like draw step a Horizon Canopy. It's so lame. I think I'm supposed to crack Horizon Canopy in response to the first one, but now that we haven't, how much damage are we facing? 3. Ooh. That's low. 1 card in our opponent's hand. Alright, so we have to go for this. Even if it deals 2 damage to us, we have to go for this. That's a fog effect. So we draw into Rancor, Daybreak Coronet, Ethereal Armor. These are all cards that win us the game. Come on, deck. Sounds like our opponent has a Besiege from what they're saying. We'll cost an extra point. An extra 2 mana to activate, so it'll cost 4 mana to activate, and they've just got us, unfortunately. Alright, so Besiege on Spirit Mantle. Hey, look, let's get some lands. Finally, the land we've been looking for all this time. We put them to 1, we died a crackback. What a close match that was. Alright, well, a GG's to our opponent. On to the final match. Okay, so upon further thought, Grist is a likely form of removal that I had not anticipated, so it was pretty wrong to lead on the light pause over the suppression field. Alright, match number 5, we lost the Dialverse into here. This looks like a fantastic hand. We'll keep arguably our best set of auras. Yikes, and it looks like we're versing Hammer Time. That's not the best matchup for us. We do see another Rancor. That's pretty nice, though. Alright, so Scout and Pass. If they give us the option to trade, we can, because we have a second creature here. Pure Steel Paladin. That's a scary one. Come on, attack. No. Alright, opponent not biting. We see another Spider Umbra, and that Spider Umbra probably means that we have to shock. I was hoping just to get a Plains, but then we can't double green spell in a couple of turns. It's a frustrating one. Okay, so how do we want to do this? Do we just give them 1 extra card draw? I guess we do. Alright, so as aggressive as possible here. Not going to pay for that one. Alright, and the second one will resolve nicely. So, attack for 5. And opponent with the Urza Saga. 4 cards in hand now. Gingerbrute. Esper Sentinel currently has Metalcraft. No equipments though. Alright, no blocks from me. I guess they can't instant speed a hammer. So that's an attack for 4, puts us to 13. We'll have to pay 2 Esper Sentinel taxes, which doesn't seem ideal. I guess we just Daybreak Coronet here. Hope they blank twice. I don't love giving my opponent that much card draw, but we'll attack for 9. Alright, so we do put our opponent down to 6. We're back to 22. Urza Saga ticks up to Chapter 2. It's important to note that Gingerbrute can have 1 mana paid, and it's basically unblockable, only blockable by creatures with haste. So that's something to note. Thankfully, our life total is quite high, and we know they didn't have a copy of Hammer last turn. Now, our opponent is going to play an Urza Saga, get a Construct token. That's an interesting draw. I wonder if we can force our opponent to misblock here. We'll just go to combat as is. I don't really believe our opponent's deck has that much interaction for us. So we can attack here and we can Besiege you the Urza Saga token in response to the block, still trample the damage through and get the victory that way. Alright, there's a Construct token. Alright, so opponent decides to block like this and we're 1 point off of killing them with the Besiege you, so let's just go ahead to assigning combat damage and then we can maybe Besiege you the Urza Saga. It's only 1 trample on our opponent. And I think we just Besiege you in our opponent's draw step. Hopefully they hit that extra land drop. Then we strip away the Urza Saga. And there shouldn't be any real coming back for it for our opponent from there. Creates a construct. I suppose that's something. I'm more concerned about them getting the... getting like the hammer or something, having a follow-up Pure Steel Paladin. I think this is all fine. And looks like our opponent concedes. Beautiful. Alright, so versing Hammer Time. We did see the Gingerbrute on that one. We can expect interaction via Spell Pierce. We can expect protection via things like Salvation, which can protect their artifacts from being destroyed. Shadow Spear is able to make our 1/1s lose hexproof and indestructible, so that's something to note as well. Cowdra can be a bit of a pain. People are playing Forge of Anew, fair enough. Alright, so sideboard wise, we're looking at like Solitude, March of Otherworldly Light, maybe a little bit of Enchantment Destruction, but I don't really think that's in white, so mostly we're just dealing with the normal stuff at hand. Alright, so this is what I'm thinking. Obviously Solitude and Force of Vigor are great. Against slower hands where they're reliant on Pure Steel Paladin, Collector Roof could actually be very much beneficial. If we're bringing Collector Roof, Light Paws loses a little bit of its charm. And Audacity is probably our weakest aura in this matchup, given we want to be able to block flying creatures. Having one lot of like pro creatures can be fine to block a big creature. So we're going to take out our Audacity, trim on Mantle, Daybreak Coronet, and Light Paws. Alright, here we see we're reliant. I guess we're not reliant on Light Paws, but likely if we keep a hand with these slower auras and no interaction, we're going to want to go in on it. We will turn 1 Scout regardless. And Light Paws can get March of Otherworldly Lighted, which they will bring in because it is just good against our enchantments, right? Alright, so our opponent has mulligan to 5 and turn 1 Gingerbrute onto us. Griftspoon off the top. Alright, so that's pretty nice. We do want to see one more land by turn 3. So like a land and either a Rancor or an Ethereal Armor would be nice. We need an Ethereal Armor in hand to have a potential turn 3 kill. Elder Army is cool. Sorry, Elder Army, Skyclave. Okay, that just makes Angels. It doesn't deal damage. Opponent attacking. Giving their creature unblockable. That has to be a pretty strong show of weakness. We find Solitude. Solitude is nice. I guess we just go ahead and play our Light Paws, attack with our Scout, and we can hold up 1 Griftspoon as a pitch to the Solitude. So this is where I expect to see maybe a Pure Steel Paladin coming out onto the battlefield. I think the only reason they played this on turn 2 was probably because they didn't have their 3rd land drop, so I reckon they drew their planes this turn. Giver of Runes, Gingerbrute, Haste. Okay. So the question is, do we want to kill Gingerbrute? I guess we can have the information in our own turn as well. This Elemental does have Flash. Find Ethereal Armor off the top. No land drop. That's a shame missing on the land drop. Still, we can get our opponent dead by next turn. So we'll Ethereal Armor. We'll Ethereal Armor. I think we get Vigilance here. If they've like pro-white so we can't block, we can Solitude in response. So let's hold the Solitude and not remove the Giver of Runes. Alright, so Forge Anew. So this has, I guess they can equip the 0 on the Gingerbrute there. That's fine. We still have the blocking covered. And then we just Solitude in response to the Giver of Runes activation. Alright, opponent is attacking. Sure, let's block. As far as I'm aware, they can't equip instant speed with Forge Anew, but I could be missing something. Equip's usually only a sorcery effect. So it looks like they want to give protection from green to Gingerbrute. I don't really get this. Maybe this is just a concession because we've very much got lethal on Crackback. Okay, and there's the concession from our opponent. So not an amazing result, 2 and 3. I'd say most of our losses were quite competitive though. As far as sideboard things are concerned, we might actually want Graveyard Hate again. There seems to be a fair few Graveyard decks. Alright, so our graveyard options, in my opinion, are Rest in Peace and Endurance at the moment. Endurance is quite good into Living End specifically. Rest in Peace is more of a catch-all that's good. This graveyard hate is good against Yawgmoth as well, not just like Living End. Now, with Rest in Peace, it does get hit by Force of Vigor, and there's a lot of Force of Vigor at the moment. People do need to be prepared for Hammer Time, they need to be prepared for Tron, so we're going to see a lot of that card. Endurance is not going to be as effective against a deck like Yawgmoth, because you only get like one iteration of the Exile. I do think it's probably the smarter way to go, just next leveling all the enchantment hate currently. So I would be looking to bring in 2 Endurance, and we do need a Trim somewhere, so a Trim can come on Suppression Field, and then we can potentially look at Gadok Teague, Collect Roof, Solitude. I think if we're running Graveyard Hate, it probably does need to be at least 2 copies. I think Solitude's probably the card to minus, so this is probably how I'm going to run for next league. Potentially bring in Endurance against this Yawgmoth deck as well if we come up across that again. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, you know what to do below. Let me know what you thought of the matches. Until next time, have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you then.